So, have you ever felt like you really wanted to drive some significant change, maybe in your organization or, your community, but you found yourself kind of hitting a wall because you just didn't have the formal authority or maybe the right title to make things happen? Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really insightful piece by Victor Loom. He reflects on his own journey, shares some powerful lessons he learned about leadership, influence, and driving change, especially when, the world around you doesn't always feel fair or maybe set up for your success. We'll be looking at excerpts from his writing, How I Learned to Lead, Influence, and Drive Change in a World That Isn't Always Fair, Continuous Improvement. So our mission today is really to unpack this core question. How do you genuinely lead? How do you make a real difference when you don't have that official title or the power that comes with it, or maybe even a seat at the table?
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's not just theory, right? It's about pulling out practical, usable insights into how power and influence actually work in organizations. And importantly, how capable individuals like Victor can navigate those dynamics, maybe even transform them rather than just, being stopped by them.
Okay, so let's start with Victor Ling's own story, because that really shaped these insights, didn't it? He recently got his Master of Technology in Digital Leadership from NUS-ISS and said that was a really powerful moment for reflection for him. Professionally, he's a solution architect in the core banking sector.
Right, so he helps big banks move from their old legacy systems.
Yeah, like the really old stuff.
To modern cloud-native platforms.
Yeah.
Big shifts. And what's really crucial to get here is that this kind of transformation, it's not just about the tech, not just swapping out old code for new. It really hits people deeply embedded corporate cultures and, the existing power structures. Right. You're changing how people work, fundamentally.
Yeah, well, it's the influence, right?
Exactly.
And it was right there in these huge, complex projects that Leung noticed something. A powerful, almost uncomfortable truth playing out. He saw firsthand, and he writes, those with power are not always the most capable, and often those who are capable are not given power. That's quite a statement, isn't it?
It really is. And it kind of pushes back against that idea that organizations are always pure meritocracies.
Right.
He actually gives a very personal example of this, too, which makes it hit home.
He does. He talks about his experience as an Asian professional working in I think it was a UK-based global firm.
Mm-hmm, that's the one.
And he just observed that most of the leadership roles, they were held by white men. And he pretty quickly realized that the traditional career paths, the ladders.
They just weren't set up for him.
Exactly. They weren't designed to recognize or lift up people like him. It really points to something systemic, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And when you're in that spot, it's not just, oh, I missed an opportunity. It feels more fundamental, like a lack of agency. Yeah. He describes having to, learn how to lead, how to speak up effectively, how to influence things, and drive actual change from the margins.
From the margins, without the formal authority.
Right. Without the title, without the built-in power. I mean, just think about how incredibly challenging that must have been.
So this whole experience, seeing capable people maybe sidelined, realizing the limits of the normal paths, it really focused his thinking. It led him to what he calls an uncomfortable truth, something he apparently explored more at NUS, that the world, maybe it isn't the meritocracy we often like to think it is.
And this is where it gets really interesting for our deep dive, isn't it? Because if you connect that observation to the bigger picture, it suggests that power hasn't, disappeared or somehow magically become evenly spread out in modern companies.
No, not at all.
The rules of the game for power, who gets it, how you use it, they're still very much in place, often deeply entrenched. And this raises a really critical point for anyone, anyone who genuinely wants to make a positive impact. If good people want to do good,
they need power.
They must learn how to gain power and how to use it effectively. It means you have to actually confront the topic of power, not shy away from it because it feels uncomfortable.
Okay, that feels like it completely flips how many people think about influence. Lou himself admits he used to think influence was just, charisma.
Yeah.
Or being really outgoing.
Yeah, the sort of natural leader idea. But his understanding really evolved. His new definition, it reframes leadership skill completely. It's definitely not about manipulation. And it's not just personality type. Instead, he defines it as a conscious and strategic effort. Key words there, to build trust, gain allies, and drive outcomes that matter.
Conscious and strategic. I like that. It implies intent, planning. So if it's a skill, a strategic effort, what's the actual impact of getting good at this?
Well, the research he points to is pretty compelling on this kind of leadership skill. It's cited as the single strongest predictor of career success.
Wow, the single strongest.
Yeah, it's what allows people to actually build influence, improve their relationships, manage how they're perceived, and ultimately create change. And crucially, regardless of their job title.
So it gives you levers to pull even without formal authority.
Precisely. It gives you agency you might not otherwise have.
Okay, so if leadership isn't about control, it's not just charisma, but it is this strategic effort. What was the fundamental shift in mindset for Ling? It sounds like it really changed his whole perspective on what being a leader means.
It absolutely did. He came to see it not as being in charge or, telling people what to do. It's more about creating environments where others can thrive. But, and this is the important part, to create those environments, you often have to be strategic. It means thinking about putting yourself and your allies in positions to influence. Because, and this is maybe the starkest point he makes, if change could happen without power, it would have happened already.
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one to swallow, but it rings true, doesn't it? It implies good intentions alone are insufficient.
Pretty much. It suggests we need to stop just hoping everyone will see the right way forward and agree.
And
Instead, we need to get, strategic. Understand how influence is actually built in our context, how decisions really get made, and figure out how we, or people we trust, can get into positions to nudge things forward, even when it feels like an uphill battle. It's about being active, not passive.
Which sort of leads us to where Luing ended up, right?
Yeah.
His graduation wasn't just, okay, got the degree. It sounds like it was the start of a new kind of commitment for him.
Very much so. He frames it as a renewed commitment, a commitment to lead boldly, to speak up, even when it might be easier, safer to stay quiet.
Yeah.
A commitment to actively build networks, not just for himself, but networks that lift other people up. And importantly, to challenge those outdated norms, those glass ceilings he encountered. He keeps coming back to this core message in his writing. Leadership is not a privilege for the few, but a responsibility for the many.
I really like that framing. Responsibility for the many.
Yeah.
And he finishes with this incredibly powerful call to action, doesn't he? Urging all of us, really, to be the kind of leaders who do not wait for permission. Leaders who actually understand power, learn to use it wisely, ethically, and ultimately change things, lives, organizations, maybe even the world, one conversation, one decision, and one act of courage at a time. It really ties everything together from his journey. So let's wrap this up. What does this all mean for you listening?
I think the core takeaway from Victor Ling's journey is pretty clear. True leadership, the kind that makes a difference, often means really understanding and, yes, strategically navigating the power dynamics around you. Especially when you don't have that formal authority, it's about recognizing what you are capable of, building genuine alliances, and then deliberately working to influence outcomes.
Absolutely. I think this deep dive gives us a really powerful framework. It's a way to think about acting effectively, even when the formal power seems concentrated elsewhere, or, when the rules of the game don't seem fair or don't serve everyone equally. It's really about taking initiative, taking agency, rather than just waiting for the system or the circumstances to change on their own.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, building directly on Victor's insights. Given that the world, it might not be a perfect meritocracy, and given that leadership is perhaps more about this conscious, strategic influence than just having a title, what's maybe one single step, however small, that you could take this week? A step to build your own influence, or help an ally build theirs, and drive some positive change in your own sphere, without waiting for permission, without waiting for that new title, just one step.